Hello again, and thanks very much for joining us. And here are business stories making headlines this hour. I'm Michael Nath. We'll begin business now from the Senate, where its Public Accounts Committee has threatened to initiate an arrest warrant against officials of the Presidential Amnesty Program over their failure to account for a total of 10 billion naira allegedly mismanaged by them. The chairman of SPAC, Senator Matthew Urogide, took the decision at the last sitting of his panel recently. His action was based on the failure of the interim administrator of the PAP, Colonel Milland Dixon Diko, to honor the invitation sent to him to explain the alleged financial scandal in the agency. The committee, according to Urogide, had invited the PAP interim administrator to appear on the query raised against the agency in the 2018 report of the Auditor General for the Federation. The interim administrator was billed to appear on February the 3rd in a letter dated January 25, but failed to show up. He also ignored another invitation in a letter dated May 19, asking him to appear on June 16. He also shunned the committee's latest letter dated June 28, asking him to appear on July the 5th. Urogide said his panel secretariat was in possession of the acknowledged copies of the letters showing that they were all received by the PAP boss. 5 international oil companies operating in Nigeria's oil and gas sector are to remit an outstanding balance of about 400 billion naira to the Federation account through the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited this July. Figures on April 2022 domestic crude oil payable in July 2022 obtained from Nnpc on Sunday showed that the companies would pay 399.91 billion naira this month for domestic crude oil sold by the firms in April 2022. The 5 oil firms, including Chevron Nigeria Limited, Mobil Producing Nigeria, Shell Petroleum Development Company, Total Exploration and Production Nigeria, as well as First Exploration and Production. Data from Nnpc indicated that 92.64 billion naira for 2.2 million barrels of crude oil would come from Chevron, while 201.49 billion naira for 4.75 million barrels of oil would be paid by Mobil. Shell and Total would remit 39.04 billion naira and 38.6 billion naira for 948,352 and 949,222 barrels of oil respectively, according to figures obtained from Nnpc. Some filling stations in Lagos, Abuja, Niger, and other states dispensed premium motor spirit at between 200 liters per naira, that's 200 per liters, to 165 liters, that's 165 naira per liter, as queues for the product extended to more states. It was gathered that the worsening queues for petrol in Lagos and neighboring states, as well as its prolonged persistence in Abuja and environs, were due to the insufficient supply of products by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company. Some filling stations in Lagos sold petrol to motorists at 200 naira per litre and still had queues, as black marketers dispensed the product at 300 naira per litre. Oil marketers denied claims of product hoarding or diversion, as they stressed that the insufficient supply of PMS by the body was intolerable. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has issued an exposure draft for the Digital Financial Services Awareness Guidelines to address gaps in consumer knowledge and practices with digital financial services DFS. This was disclosed by the CBN in a circular titled Digital Financial Services Awareness Guidelines. According to the CBN, the rules established a set of principles and expectations for financial service providers to incorporate in the provision of DFS in order to promote consumer knowledge, good treatment, and positive outcomes. CBN stated that DFS has the potential to expand access to financial services for the Nigerian population and spur innovation in the financial services industry. It stated that the provisions of the guidelines would apply to institutions providing DFS, including deposit money banks, merchant banks, other financial institutions, payment service per banks, and other payment service institutions as licensed by the CBN. The latest state of food security and nutrition report shows the world is moving backwards in efforts to eliminate hunger and malnutrition. This according to a United Nations report, which shows that the number of people affected by hunger globally rose to 828 million in 2021. Reacting to this report, analyst Moyokun Ilo highlighted intellectual laziness as the bane of Nigeria's challenges, while also adding that the government must focus on agriculture.
More of intellectual laziness. It's the laziness in drafting a policy, in laziness of thinking of the next 50, 100 years for the country, where we are more concerned. In those years, we used to have rolling plans covering 4 or 5 years at a time. Now, the government can barely think about the next 6 months. They don't even know what is going to happen next week. That is why you see terrorists and what have you, rampaging through the streets and killing people. That's why you see storms that is just 3 days old of rain coming in and throwing everything up in tatters in our society, because government is not ready to prepare to plan for the next 20 years. The problem of Russia and Ukraine is here to stay with us, at least in the foreseeable future. So it's up to us now, within the time frame, the short time frame that we have, to begin to look at how to source alternative food supplies and how to produce everything that we can produce internally. The future of the country is at stake, because when you have malnutrition, at least among the weakest of the weak kids, those between 0 and 5 years old, if you don't address it, you are looking at a lifetime of issues in terms of malnutrition and the rest of the things that come with being severely malnourished. So, as it were, I think government needs to put its acts together, focus, and maybe create and approve more resources for use in agricultural related endeavors, and make sure that at least in the northern part of the country, the focus is put on making sure that people have enough to eat, whatever the needs may be. Provide security for the farmer so that
Stanbic IBTC Purchasing Manager Index report for June 2022 shows that the productivity of the Nigerian private sector experienced its first decline in 19 months by moving down from 53.9 in May to 50.9 in June. The PMI report also revealed that the growth of new order moderated to its weakest point in 2 years, while overall input price inflation quickened to 4-month high. While disagreeing with the PMI report, analysts Emeka Okingwu averred that Nigeria needs to focus on alternative sources of energy to increase productivity.
I'm not very comfortable with the first decline, because I don't know what you're basing that growth or decline upon. I think there has been some steady decline in all sectors in the past 5 or 6 years. So calling this a first decline
in 19 months
might not, it's arguable. Okay, let's put it that way. Companies are folding up, okay? People are getting out of business. People are losing jobs. Look at the statistics of how many companies that are folded up in Nigeria. And look at how many that are in business fully. We have an energy problem. We hadn't have energy. I mean, a country of 200 million people, and we're generating less than 10,000 megawatts of, right? And then distributing a fraction of that. So where are you getting the energy to run? And if you're going to be using diesel, okay, a liter of diesel is about 800, 900 naira. Now, where are you going to cover that cost? These are empirical statistics. This is what I've been trying. This is what I've been saying all this while we've been having this conversation. That is where the challenge is. Okay, everything wise, not only just your profit, but inclusive of your capital. All right. So what you need to do is to be able to make certain that we don't focus on fossil fuels alone. We must be able to find these alternative energy sources.